Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to uncover how a visceral, incredibly utilitarian method of historical survival evolved into this beautiful, living theater that actually preserves the Cajun people. We're talking about the Louisiana Boucherie. We'll look at how an unbelievably harsh environment forced early settlers to create a cooperative foodway, and exactly why, in our modern age of supermarkets and instant gratification, this ancient practice is experiencing a profound and, honestly, necessary revival.
Okay, let's dive right into this question. Because in South Louisiana, the act of making the food has historically been even more important than the food itself. For the early Acadian settlers, food was memory, ritual, and survival all rolled into one. It wasn't about culinary prestige, It was about getting through the winter in one of the most unforgiving, isolated environments in North America, where a failed harvest literally meant starvation.
This startling quote from modern neo-Boucher and Chef Toby Rodriguez really sets the stage for our journey. It hits the nail on the head regarding just how disconnected modern convenience has made us from the intimate life and death cycle of what we eat. A styrofoam package? In our world of refrigerated trucks and vacuum-sealed packaging, we're completely removed from the reality of animal husbandry and communal survival that defined human existence for centuries.
So to truly understand this tradition, we first need to define what a boucherie actually is. It's a really common misconception to view it simply as a giant party or a feast. In its original form, it was a rotating series of strictly necessary chores for a small trust of families. Before you could just stash perishables in a freezer, country folk had to systematically process an entire animal together just to ensure the meat wouldn't spoil.
And this rustic style was born entirely out of survival. The Acadians were refugees. They were extremely poor farmers who fed their large families with whatever they could hunt, harvest, or raise out in the swamps and prairies. They'd often cook everything together in these massive, heavy black iron pots just to maximize every single calorie they could pull from the land.
To put this into perspective, just look at the stark contrast between Louisiana's two famous cuisines. While Creole cuisine, born in the wealthy port city of New Orleans, is kind of aristocratic, using imported spices, oysters, and rich butter, Cajun food is a rugged, one-pot survivalist tradition. It relied heavily on local wild game, rice to stretch the meal, and oil or lard rendered right from the animals they raised.
Section 1. Survival before refrigeration. The crucial point here is that early Cajuns were completely cut off from the modernizing world. The dense wetlands made intercommunal travel and trade virtually impossible. It's actually awe-inspiring to think about this resilience. Even as the rest of the rural South started getting electricity in the mid-20th century, rural Cajuns were still gathering around cauldrons of molten pork fat, speaking their unique dialect of French, and relying entirely on each other to survive the fallow months. Because of this extreme isolation, families formed a rotating co-op based on abject, absolute trust. It worked like this. One family would provide a hog. Each December, they'd appoint a weekly boucherie day. Everyone had a specific station and a specific chore to systematically break down that hog, ensuring the life-saving yield was shared and preserved fairly among the entire community.
Section 2. Rugged resourcefulness. Using the whole hog.
The Acadians possessed this astonishing culinary ingenuity. It was a rustic genius where absolutely every single part of the pig was utilized. The trotters and head became head cheese. The internal organs became an apocryphal stew called fraiseurs. The skin was simmered down into lard, which was then used as a confit to preserve other cuts of meat. And at the end of an exhausting day of scraping and chopping, the community rewarded themselves with a hearty backbone stew. Nothing was wasted.
Now, while this visceral reality of harvesting rich ferric blood might seem grisly to our modern sensibilities, it was an absolutely essential ancestral technique. To make traditional boudin noir, the blood was caught immediately and salted precisely to maintain its viscosity. You had to get it right so it wouldn't become a runny mess or, heaven forbid, puff up into a literal blood soufflé before being stuffed into casings. It was a vital way to capture high-quality protein that would otherwise be lost. Today, those who carry on this tradition introduce a deep sense of reverence to the process. Modern neo-Bouchers, like Toby Rodriguez, will actually waft a holocaust of herbs, burning sage, to mellow the animal right before the harvest. It introduces this intimate, almost liturgical respect for the life that is about to provide nutrition for the community. It forces a quiet, direct confrontation with the reality of exactly where our food comes from.
Section 3. The threat of convenience.
This timeline traces a fascinating evolution.
For centuries, the boucherie was a dire necessity. But by the mid-20th century, the arrival of refrigerated trucks and local supermarkets made the practice materially obsolete. However, in the mid-1970s, realizing exactly what was being lost, communities sparked a cultural awakening with festive events like La Grande Boucherie in St. Martinville. This rescued Cajun folkways from creeping American homogeneity, leading straight to today's neo-boucherie movement.
Section 4. Preserving the Cajun identity. Today, this practice is no longer about preserving the meat. It's about preserving the people. As electrified kitchens and modern grocery stores give us less and less reason to actually rely on one another, the modern boucherie intentionally pushes back, serving as the ultimate binding agent. It is the shared sweat and physical labor of these ancient shores that actively protects their cultural heritage. By physically working alongside one another, they're reaffirming a legacy of rugged durability and profound human interconnection. At the emotional core of this explainer is a simple truth about human connection. Chef Rodriguez describes the modern boucherie exactly like this. By witnessing the life and death of the animal and participating in the heavy, shared labor of its breakdown, modern barriers are just shattered. It forces attendees to be vulnerable, and in that vulnerability, they connect deeply with their ancestors and the raw reality of their heritage.
This quote perfectly captures the overarching thematic shift of the boucherie. The absolute life-or-death need to extract fat for survival has transformed. The physical action remains exactly the same, but the purpose is elevated. Rendering lard is now the very vehicle for cultural survival. It keeps the muscle memory of the Cajun people alive.
Furthermore, this philosophy of waste not, want not extends way beyond just the hog. It's perfectly embodied by the generations of resourceful Cajun grandmothers who would boil bare corn cobs just to extract every single drop of flavor for soup, or transform stubborn, hard watermelon rinds into sweet jelly out of sheer beautiful resilience. They simply refused to toss away anything that could sustain their families. It's an incredibly admirable testament to survival.
By returning intimacy to our food and actively rejecting the easy packaged convenience of the supermarket, this ancient Cajun practice offers us a profound lesson. In a modern, highly disposable world facing declining resources and multiplying waste, the ethos of the boucherie reminds us of the true value of resourcefulness, deep respect for our environment, and the incredible strength found in community cooperation.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. We've seen how the Cajuns transformed a shared, sweaty survival chore into an unbreakable shield for their cultural identity. What about you? In your own life, family, or community, what traditional practices are you fighting to keep alive against the tide of modern convenience? Think about it. Thanks for joining me, and keep exploring.